What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show. As always, thank you for tuning in. So this segment, we're going to go ahead and talk about the details of all this coordination between these judges and the prosecutions against Donald Trump, this obvious weaponization of our justice system and the destruction of our rule of law and order, the complete lawlessness that we are experiencing from the left and the Democrats in a desperate attempt to prevent Donald Trump from winning the election. So we're going to get into all this. But this article just dropped today from the New York Post, which is, it's pretty odd for the media outlets to post really anything on Sundays. But they did on this, so this is actually pretty important. So, Trump lawyers to use conflict of interest between Judge Carroll's attorney in appeal of the $83.3 million jury verdict. This is insane. So, if, you've been living under a rock, it's been posted all over the place. And I think this story dropped on Friday, where the jury essentially forced Donald Trump to pay E. Jean Carroll $83 million in a case where there was no evidence, there was no witnesses, just word of mouth from her, and something that took place like 30 years ago. Yeah. The complete and utter weaponization of the justice system in New York. That's what we're watching. That's what took place, and that's what's still taking place. They are trying to financially bankrupt Donald Trump so that he can't campaign. This is what they're doing. It's all election interference, and it's all being coordinated. I have to say, from the White House. Now, I don't think it's Joe Biden. Granted, I think he's sitting in the Situation Room when they're discussing these talks, and he's, I'm sure, making recommendations and listening in if and when he's not falling asleep because he's suffering from stage 5 dementia and he's 81 or 82 years old. It was Joe Biden that recommended the Logan Act to be used against General Michael Flynn. We all know about that, how Michael Flynn was the first victim of this weaponization, where he was accused the FARA violations. You guys remember that? The same thing, essentially, that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden are caught doing. FARA violations, where they said that Michael Flynn was colluding with, top heads of Russia, all this stuff. Michael Flynn was the first victim of this weaponization by the Democrats. And so it was Joe Biden that recommended the Logan Act, a law that they had to dust off that has never been used in that manner before. And they did the same thing that they're doing to Donald Trump. They managed to go through the process, file the documents, to give the appearance of justice. But it wasn't justice. It was just a way for them to remove Michael Flynn from the equation. And that's exactly what they did. And then Donald Trump had to pardon Michael Flynn. It is very disgusting what we're watching happen to our justice system by the Democrats, all in the name of stopping Donald Trump. So this E. Jean Carroll case, which, the case that the left always uses to say, oh, Donald Trump is a rapist, Donald Trump got accused of rape and he's guilty of all this bull crap that they say about Donald Trump is based off of this E. Jean Carroll case. In fact, it's the only case that Donald Trump has ever been found guilty on, believe it or not. And the case just so happened to have no witnesses, no evidence, just E. Jean Carroll's memory of the incident, which Donald Trump says he's never even met this girl in his life. And I do have to say, I believe Donald Trump on this. The whole believe all women. This is why you don't believe all women. This is what is so dangerous about the Me Too movement. Because of people like E. Jean Carroll who take away true victims of sexual assault. This is what E. Jean Carroll does. In fact, I think that's exactly what Donald Trump was sued for, was because he was essentially saying the same thing I just said, which is E. Jean Carroll takes away from real victims out there of sexual assault in order to get rich and to kneecap him during his campaign. And this was all coordinated, and we're getting ready to find out why and what this judge in the case has to do with the coordination. So to get into this New York Post article, hat tip to Charles Gasparino. This just came out today at 7:18 p.m. Says Donald Trump's lawyers will use an insane and previously unknown conflict of interest between E. Jean Carroll's lawyer and the judge presiding over her defamation case against the former president as the basis of their appeal, seeking to toss the eye-popping $83.3 million jury verdict, the Post has learned. And so, yes, the words that they used in quotations, insane and conflict of interest, are perfectly suiting for the situation. This jury verdict was insane because the court was only asking for $11 million, but yet the jury comes out with an $83.3 million verdict. Tell me this system is not rigged, folks. Tell me this system is not being politicized and weaponized for political purposes. There's no other way around it. And I'm going to go into some voting demographics of New York and all the other states where Donald Trump's being persecuted too. That's pretty eye-opening for any Democrat or leftist that may be listening. And I'm going to connect some dots for you there. Try and bring around that thing you don't see very often, common sense. And maybe this will wake you up. I doubt it, but we'll try. So Trump lawyer Alina Habba, she's great, man. She's a Viking. So Trump lawyer Alina Habba said she was unaware Manhattan federal judge Lewis Kaplan and Carroll's lawyer Roberta Kaplan worked together in the early 1990s at the same powerhouse white shoe law firm until Saturday. So they just find out this information that the judge has a conflict of interest with her former law colleague that they've been working together since 1990. And they just find this out on Saturday after the verdict. kind of important to kind of bring up beforehand, huh? That, like I said, folks, this is not justice. They want to give you an appearance of justice, but this is not justice. This is a politicized, weaponized justice system to kneecap Donald Trump and interfere in our federal elections. That's what this is, and we've been saying this here on this show for months. And it's not just me, it's all of us saying this. We all see it. You're not alone. It's very frustrating to know that the justice system is being used like this, and it's being destroyed by the left for their bloodlust of Donald Trump. It's really a shame that we have to watch our justice system be completely destroyed by emotionally, psychologically wounded, Trump-deranged Democrats. So when asked about it by the Post, columnist Charles Gasparino, who was told by a source that the judge was once Roberta Kaplan's mentor, quote, "It was never disclosed. It's insane and so incestuous," Habba said, insisting neither the 79-year-old judge nor Roberta Kaplan, 57, who aren't related, by the way, disclosed the conflict of interest and a violation of judicial ethics rules. More ethics rules violated. The ethics rules, the ethics committees for all these cases are going to be busy for a freaking decade going through all these ethics violations that are going to be filed because of all these weaponized cases, all these politicized cases. They're going to be busy for 10 years and just giving one appeal after another, after another, after another. Because these cases can't possibly hold up in appeals. We cannot have justice like this. You cannot bend and twist the justice system just to get your desired outcome from one person and then expect it to go back. It's not, no, once you go down this road, there is no putting the toothpaste back in the tube, man. And this is exactly what we've been trying to say for 8 years now. Once you go into impeaching on a partisan basis and once you politicize the impeachment process, what happens? Probably every single administration is going to use impeachment now. And Democrats didn't do it once, but they did it twice. This is why Democrats are such a threat to democracy. This is why Democrats are such a danger to our rule of law and our justice system. Because they want to be able to bend and twist the rules and make Donald Trump an exception to law and order and to the rules. And then after they get what they want from Donald Trump and they destroy him, arrest him, whatever it is they want to do, then they think it's going to be able to go back to normal. Nope. Absolutely not. And I'll tell you one thing, if not for the impeachment of Donald Trump once but twice on a partisan basis, Joe Biden would not be impeached right now. Democrats have normalized this hideous, egregious justice that we've been watching for the last 8 years. They have normalized it. So, Roberta Kaplan worked at Paul Weiss Rifkin, Wharton and Garrison in Midtown from 1992 to 2016, before leaving to become a founding partner of Kaplan, Hecker, and Fink, according to her LinkedIn page. Quote, "This is news to us," she continued. "We're going to include this in our appeal and take appropriate measures. The fact it wasn't disclosed is an ethics violation." During her early years at Paul Weiss, I don't know if it's Weiss or Weiss. This is another one of those things. Like, is it Weiss? So during her early years at Paul Weiss, she worked as associate of the firm at the same time as Judge Kaplan, who was a partner there until 1994 when he was appointed to the federal bench by then President Bill Clinton. Zach Sawyer, a representative for Robert Kaplan, insisted no conflict exists. That seems kind of like a conflict to me. They overlapped for less than 2 years in the early 1990s at a large law firm when he was a senior partner and she was a junior associate, and she never worked for him, said Sawyer, who declined to provide further comment. But a former Paul Weiss partner who asked not to be named said, like all associates at the firm, Roberta Kaplan did her best to distinguish herself before partners, including Lewis Kaplan. Quote, "Lou was like her mentor," claimed the former partner. Messages left with Judge Kaplan's chambers and a representative for Paul Weiss were not returned Saturday. Trump was previously ordered to pay Carroll $5 million in May after a jury found him liable for abusing her inside a Bergdorf Goodman fitting room in 1996. Think about this, folks. 1996, this lady was ordered $5 million. Donald Trump was ordered to pay $5 million to this kook for something that happened in a store in 1996 with no witnesses, no pictures, no videos, just her. Is this not insane? On Friday, Judge Kaplan oversaw the staggering $83.3 million judgment awarded to Carroll in Manhattan federal court by a jury of 5 men and 4 women. The jury found Trump liable for slandering Carroll in 2019 when he dismissed her sexual assault claims as a hoax and called her a whack job. What? Whoa, wait a minute. I did not know that is what he was being sued for. So he was in court because he dismissed her sexual assault claims and called it a hoax and called her a whack job? And he was just ordered to pay $83.3 million for that? Hello, First Amendment, anybody? What are we now? Are we not allowed to have First Amendment rights here in this country now? This is exactly why Trump is saying what he's saying. And do I have to remind the listeners, do I have to remind anybody listening how right Donald Trump has been on almost every single issue? I don't know, go back to COVID, the immigration crisis, the inflation, the economy, the wars overseas, the peace in the Middle East. Like, do we have to go? This guy has been right on 99% of the stuff that he's made claims to. And every single time he says something and the left accuses him of being a liar or a racist, it ends up being true. And so I find it just crazy how Donald Trump can come out and dismiss the sexual assault claims and say it was a hoax and call her a whack job, and he gets ordered to pay $83 million for that? This is insane, folks. This is not justice. I don't know what this is, but it's terrifying, whatever it is. Some legal experts have questioned the size of the award because it's unclear how much monetary damage Trump caused Carroll. Following Friday's verdict, Trump vowed to appeal both decisions. So how is Donald Trump ordered to pay $83 million? Like, this is what I don't get. Like, did it cause $83 million in damage to E. Jean Carroll? If anything, this woman is getting rich off of this stuff. Nobody's ever heard of this woman. Donald Trump claims he's never even met this woman. And I have to say, I believe him. Because when you listen to this woman, she was trying to hawk a book for years. She went on CNN and was talking to, what's his name? The guy that lied on the Weather Channel. Damn, I can't even remember his name now. Oh, shit. The pretty boy with the gray hair. I can't even remember his name. I try not to watch the stuff. But she gets on there and talks about how sexy he is. And how she fantasized about being raped by men. Like, dude, this woman is a whack job. Okay? So, like, Donald Trump calling her a whack job, and he's forced to pay $83 million for that? My God, folks. This is terrifying. It really is terrifying. Whatever you do, if you're Republican or conservative, do not get in trouble in these blue states, in these Democrat strongholds, because you will be screwed. Because if they can do this to Donald Trump, they can do this to anybody. And like I said in either the last segment or at the beginning of this one, we are living in bizarro world where the heroes are villains and the villains are heroes. This Trump derangement syndrome has morphed and has leached into our justice system. And now the Democrats and the Trump deranged leftists have officially broken the justice system in New York, the justice system in Georgia, the justice system in Washington, D.C. I'm a firm believer D.C. system has already been broken for decades, but the leftists and the Democrats have just steamrolled it. There is nothing left of justice in any of these blue Democrat strongholds. None. And so my best advice for conservatives and Republicans, do not go to these blue states. If anything happens, if Donald Trump could be treated like this, and the justice system could be used in this manner in order to get vengeance on a political opponent, and you get in trouble, a regular, middle-class working person, do not tell them you voted for Donald Trump. Do not mention you are a conservative, because if they find out you voted Republican, and I guarantee it's the first thing that they look up on your social media or somehow, some way, they will find out who you vote for, and you will be screwed. We still have political prisoners sitting in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, in a gulag since January 6th of 2021. These people that are still sitting there, and some in solitary confinement, have yet to receive a trial date. Pre-trial detention for 3 friggin' years. All because of who they support politically. Sure, maybe they went inside the Capitol, but don't you think there's nuances to this? Like maybe somebody that walked into the Capitol, could it be because, I don't know, the doors were open for them and they were waved in by police? You see what I mean, folks? The justice system is broken. It is gone. There is nothing left in these blue states. So whatever you do, do not get in trouble in Democrat strongholds. So, quote, absolutely ridiculous. He railed on Truth Social. Quote, I fully disagree with both verdicts and will be appealing this whole Biden-directed witch hunt focused on me and the Republican Party. Our legal system is out of control and being used as a political weapon. I couldn't have said it better. And in fact, I think that's exactly what I did say. This is insane, folks. Freaking-sane. And so there's obvious coordination here. You have a huge conflict of interest where the judge and the lawyer, Roberta Kaplan, worked together. Democrats don't see that as a conflict of interest. Like, not even that, but nobody even recognizes the name. They don't even ask the question like, hey, are these husband and wife? Because they both have the same exact last name, but they're not related, of course. But like, that doesn't throw up any red flags for Democrats. Like, hey, these two people have the same last name. Could they possibly be related? That would be a pretty big conflict of interest, don't you think? Where the judge and the lawyer know each other. They worked at a law firm together. Like, that to me is wild that this case was even allowed to go through. It is wild to me that this Judge Lewis Kaplan, didn't recuse himself from the very beginning. Not only did he not recuse himself, but he withheld the information that he even worked with the attorney before, more or less for 2 years. So they worked at the same law firm together, and the judge doesn't disclose that to anybody. Like they thought this was going to go through. This is why I think this is all coordinated, folks. This Judge Lewis Kaplan wanted to be the judge to get vengeance on Donald Trump. Okay? This is why none of these judges are recusing themselves. They want the fame. They want the name. They want to be cheered and held up as a hero when they go to the New York Manhattan parties. They want to be known as the judge that ordered Donald Trump to pay $83 million. These people are sick, man. We are dealing with very psychologically broken people. And this judge, and not just this judge, but all the other political witch hunters in this jihad against Donald Trump, the district attorneys, the lawyers, the prosecutors, the attorney generals, all of them are all out to get Donald Trump, and it's all being coordinated. I have to say, I think it's all being coordinated by the White House. Joe Biden, his White House counsel, Barack Obama, they have their fingerprints all over this stuff. all over the Trump cases, all over these cases in New York, all over the case in Georgia, all over the place. This seems like it is being coordinated by one cabal of people in Washington, D.C. And I guarantee you, in years from now, maybe even sooner, hopefully before the election, we're going to find out that there was coordination from Joe Biden directly into these cases in order to kneecap his political rival, Donald Trump. This is insane. If the roles were reversed and this was happening to Joe Biden during his campaign in red states, in Texas and Florida, the media would be outraged. What do you think the media would say about Donald Trump? What if this was happening to Joe Biden in Republican red states 10 months before the election, and there was a letter that was sent to the prosecuting team in Texas from the White House? What do you think the media would say about that? Because that's exactly what happened over the weekend in the Georgia case. So that's what I wanted to get into next. So in Georgia, there was a hearing by one of the co-defendants in the RICO case. His attorney dropped the hammer on the prosecution team. He is asking the judge for these two documents that were sent from the White House to the prosecution team. And I want to go ahead and play that audio for you right here. Listen to this attorney just drop a nuke bomb on the prosecution team, and I don't think they were ready. Here, check this out.
So we know that there were contacts between the White House and the prosecution team because Mr. Wade's billing records that were filed into the Mike Roman motions show a conference of White House counsel on May 22nd of 22, and another conference at the White House, I believe, in November 18th of 22, which brackets more or less the work of the special purpose grand jury. They were.
All right. So just a little backstory. I'm going to narrate this video so that you have some backstory into what this attorney is talking about. There was one of the co-defendants hired a private investigator. All right. This private investigator is the one that found out about the sexual relationship, the alleged affair between Big Fani Willis and this guy, Nathan Wade. All right. That private investigator uncovered these revelations. And so this guy, Mike Roman, filed a motion in court saying, look, these people are having an affair. You got this prosecution going out on luxurious trips paid for by the Georgia taxpayers. The whole damn thing was so corrupt. And this guy, Mike Roman, filed a motion to dismiss the case. And in that motion to dismiss, and some of the documents that were retrieved from Nathan Wade was a billing sheet, a billing statement, essentially a receipt that a lawyer uses. This is how they charge their clients. And on that billing sheet was 2 visits to the White House. This is what the attorney's talking about. There was a visit on May 23rd of 2022, and there was a visit on November 18th, 2022. All right? So on this billing sheet, the prosecutor that Fani Willis hired to prosecute Donald Trump in this Georgia RICO case visited the White House not once, but twice. And both times he charged 8 hours at $250 an hour. And on the billing sheet, I'm looking at it right now, it says travel to Athens, conference with White House counsel. May 23rd, 2022, 8 hours, $250 an hour, total cost of $2,000. So every time this guy went to the White House, he was getting paid $2,000. And so on November 18th, another block where it says interview at D.C. White House. November 18th, 8 hours, again, for another $250 an hour, bringing the total to $2,000. So not once, but twice did this prosecutor that's prosecuting Trump visit the White House. This is what this attorney is mentioning here in this video. So I'm going to go ahead and let you get back to the video, and I'll narrate some more if I see that there needs to be some history logged here on this video. Here we go. Back to the video.
White House, I believe, in November 18th of 22, which brackets more or less the work of the special purpose grand jury. They were impaneled on May 2nd of 22. And I think they heard their last testimony right around that November timeframe.
So again, what he's saying is the reason why these documents are of interest to him is during this time on this billing sheet between May and November, the special counsel grand jury was doing testimony. They were hearing testimony about indicting Donald Trump, right? And mind you, the special grand jury is in Georgia. So this has nothing to do with the White House. So this is why people are asking the question, why was this guy, Nathan Wade, that was a part of this special grand jury, taking trips to the White House? Not once, but twice. And so he puts it, and not only that, but it fits the time frame almost exactly of when this grand jury was hearing testimony. So very coincidental, right? I mean, was he going over there for a White House tour for 8 hours a day for 2 days? Like, this is what these are the questions people are asking. And we're only in search of the truth. Nothing more, nothing less. We're just in search of the truth. That is it. And so back to the video here.
The reason that matters, Your Honor, is the obvious political dimensions of the case. The DA was already disqualified from investigating or prosecuting Burt Jones because of a political conflict of interest, because she was campaigning for his Democrat opponent using the imprimatur of her office.
Burt Jones. All right, more narration. Burt Jones. Big Fani Willis was disqualified from prosecuting Burt Jones. Burt Jones is he is a lieutenant governor, I think, in the state of Georgia. She was trying to go after him, too, as he was campaigning. And not only this, and the reason why she was disqualified was because she, Big Fani Willis, was campaigning for Burt Jones's political opponent, his Democrat opponent. The freaking lawlessness of these people, man, the brazen lawlessness that she actually thought she was going to be able to prosecute the opponent of the person she was campaigning for using her office. The judge looked at this and said, "Are you nuts?" Like, literally, I think that's exactly the words that they used. Like they said, "Are you insane? You know how unethical this looks? You know how improper this is?" And so she was denied the prosecution of this guy, Burt Jones. And that's essentially what this attorney brought up. So they were disqualified from prosecuting Burt Jones because of the appearance of conflicts of interest and impropriety based off of it being essentially political lawfare. And so she was disqualified from prosecuting Burt Jones. All right, back to the audio here.
So the DA's politics were already in this case on a de jure basis long before the indictment was even issued. The White House has its fingerprints on all 4 criminal prosecutions of President Trump. And now we know they have their fingerprints on this case.
Boom.
President Biden is reported to have complained that the Department of Justice was taking too long with the case against President Trump.
And that report came from a New York Times article because the leftist radical Democrats were getting impatient because Joe Biden wasn't targeting his political opposition yet. And so they were pressuring Joe Biden. And so therefore, Joe Biden, as reported from the New York Times, allegedly was pressuring Merrick Garland and the DOJ, essentially saying, look, why have you not indicted yet? Why haven't you charged him yet? What's taking so long? That's what essentially that's what the attorney's talking about. Because again, this was a 45-minute hearing that I took 16 minutes from. I just took the back half because the first half, there was 2 motions. They split the baby in half, and I recorded the second half. That was more relevant to what we're talking about today. But it was a 45-minute hearing. I watched the whole thing, and this attorney absolutely smokes the Georgia prosecution team to a point to where the prosecution team can't even talk. The guy is clearly shaken when the judge asks for these White House documents. Anyways, back to the audio. It's almost done.
At the White House on November the 9th of 2022, that he would pursue every constitutional means of stopping President Trump from taking power.
We just have to demonstrate that he will not take power by if he does run, making sure he, under legitimate efforts of our Constitution, does not become the next president again.
So Joe Biden said those words, that audio you just heard. Joe Biden said that on November 9th. Nathan Wade visited the White House on November 18th. Democrats still find that that's not a red flag for Democrats. No impropriety there. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see. That's not unethical at all. That is just the prosecutor of Georgia visiting the White House just days after Joe Biden said he's going to use every effort and every constitutional means to stop Donald Trump from getting elected. And then just days later, Nathan Wade is making a visit to the White House. So Joe Biden doesn't mess around, man. When he says something about, persecuting his political opponents, he's on it. This Joe Biden is the most corrupt politician. This guy is the most slimy, most vile White House swamp creature I think I've ever experienced in my lifetime. And I've looked into a lot of vile, egregious, corrupt politicians, and Joe Biden tops them all. I'm serious. He's worse than Obama. He's worse than the worst politician you could possibly think of. That Menendez guy that got caught with gold bars in his pocket? Yeah, Joe Biden's worse than that. But Joe Biden is good. He is a good liar. He is a good politician. And he is a punk. He is a street thug. He knows how to stay in office. You're not a senator for 50 years. Nobody stays in Washington, D.C. for 50 years without having a little bit of blood on your hands. Joe Biden may be as dumb as a blender, but Joe Biden is extremely smart when it comes to benefiting himself and furthering his career. And so Joe Biden, just days before the visit with Nathan Wade from the Georgia prosecution team, Joe Biden is telling the press that he's going to do everything constitutionally to stop Donald Trump from getting elected. Democrats don't see anything wrong with that? Okay.
And that was 9 days before the November 18th meeting at the White House reflected on Mr. Wade's bills. The criminal cases against President Trump are being pushed to have their trials before or during the election. The DA in this case is pushing to have this case start in August. And according to their time budget, that means that it would be tried while voting was occurring. A reasonable person might view the whole picture as having a political purpose. And in fact, a lot of people in this country view it that way, according to opinion polls. And certainly most Republicans view it that way, assuming they're still entitled to have opinions. So those communications with the White House are relevant to a potential selective prosecution or due process defense in this case.
Boom. Sorry about the outro. That's actually the show's outro. This was a video that I made for social media. But this guy dropped the freaking hammer, dude. Of course, this is a political prosecution. Of course, the majority of Americans see this as political lawfare against Donald Trump. They are trying to kneecap Donald Trump during an election. Folks, we are 10 months away from the most important election of our lifetimes. At a point in time to where Joe Biden has the lowest approval rating than any president in modern history. At a point in time to where Donald Trump is smoking Joe Biden in the polls. And no Democrat finds it a little bit odd that the more Donald Trump goes up in the polls, the more these people target him with cases and indictments and investigations. Democrats don't find it a little bit odd that Donald Trump has to campaign as he's going in and out of different courtrooms with 4 separate cases, 91 indictments he has to fight off, while Joe Biden gets to campaign from his basement? Why? How is that fair? Why does the Republican candidate have to campaign as he's defending his freedom and liberty from a 700-year sentence, while Joe Biden gets to campaign from a basement and just mumbles and bumbles around on stage? How is that fair? So Democrats actually think that anybody is going to accept the results of the 2024 election after the entire country and the entire world witnesses this happening during their election? Who is going to come out of the 2024 election and say, yeah, Joe Biden won fair and square. That was a legit election. Donald Trump just didn't campaign hard enough. Who is going to say that? Like everybody, nobody is going to accept 2024 as a free and fair election. And so this is why Democrats are such a threat. They are such a threat to our democracy. They are such a threat to the way we run our elections. They're such a threat to this country, man. Their ideas and their philosophies are dangerous. We are well past abnormal. We are well past just disagreeing on how we get there kind of thing. We are in the realm of Democrats are trying to destroy this country. It's not like, oh, we'll just, Joe Biden wins, we'll just give it another 4 years. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Biden has dismantled our southern border, our immigration system. We are in multiple foreign conflicts. We have a currency collapse that we haven't seen since the Great Depression. We have the economy that is absolutely crushing people's lives, okay? The trickle-down economics to Joe Biden's economy is disastrous. This is grocery prices, homeowners insurance. I mean, you name it. The reason why everything's more expensive is because of Joe Biden. Supply chain issues. Just go down the list. So we're not talking about people that, want the same things as Republicans and conservatives. It's just we disagree on how to get there. These people want to fundamentally change our country forever. They are not leaving anything on the field. It is a do or die. It is two people running for the knife and somebody is going to get it kind of thing. So this is what I'm talking about. Democrats don't see anything wrong with Donald Trump having to defend his liberty and freedom while campaigning as the Republican nominee in the most important election in our country's history. And I'm talking, yes, right up there with the crossroads of the Civil War. That is where we're at, folks. And I'm not saying that to be hyperbolic. I'm literally telling you that if we have to go through another 4 years of this, I don't know where we will be. I've never felt like that way before, ever, in any election. I voted for Obama in 2008. I went through a lot of these elections in my lifetime. I didn't vote in 2012. I've been in politics since I was 15 years old. I've been watching this stuff. I'm 36 now. So 25 years? 25 years I've been watching politics and I've been into this stuff. Ever since I was a kid, when I was young and dumb as a Democrat. Then I grew older and grew wise. I was an independent. And then now the whole damn party went so far left, I find myself voting Republican. That's how far left these people went. I didn't go anywhere. I stayed the same. All I did was I held on to my principles. I love my country. I want to leave my kids a better country that I got, or at least leave it the same. I want a better future for my kids. I want my communities to be safe. I want my neighbors to be prosperous. I want everybody to be prosperous. I want the world at peace. This is what we want. It's not, and we're the extreme ones here. Leave out the abortion stuff. That's a gray issue. Not everybody's going to agree on that. It's not a binary decision. So leave out the abortion stuff. What is it that makes the right so extreme? What? They don't want pornography books? They don't want books with pornography in their kids' classroom? In their classroom. Nothing about libraries. You could put that stuff in the public library all you want. You have Moms for Liberty going around the country and getting books removed from the school library. You're talking about X-rated books that are in elementary schools for second graders. Is that necessary? So if that is, and I have to say that's probably one of the more extreme things the Republicans do. And to me, it's not even that extreme. These are the things we're talking about. And so Democrats can't even agree on that. This is the problem that we're coming up to. Democrats used to agree with Republicans on the fundamental bases, on the fundamental principles of this country. God, freedom, liberty, prosperity, the whole thing. But these people have went way off the trail. We don't agree on anything anymore. These people want to fundamentally change this country. You're talking about a party that does not want borders, folks. Okay? You're talking about a country that says men can give birth And not only should you accept that as fact, but you should celebrate it. This is what we're dealing with, man. And I'm not saying all Democrats. I mean, I get not all Democrats are like that. Just like not all Republicans are abortion banners. So I get it, you know? But we're talking about a party. You're talking about a party, a political faction that has nothing in common with their fellow Americans anymore. You're talking about an administrative state that has used the leverage of that party in order to get that party to hate their fellow Americans. And they pretend like it's just a fringe group of the country. You're talking about half of the country, millions and millions of people. And Democrats don't care what they want. They're not listening to them. They want to fundamentally change the country regardless of what the 81 or 90 million or 100 million people think about it. They just want to change it. No borders, erase history, 1619 Project was the beginning of America, no Christopher Columbus, no Christmas, boys can be girls and girls can be boys, they can both share the same bathrooms, men can give birth. You know, there's no such thing as gender, there's no such thing as sex. There's no, like, these are the things, there's no such thing as God. There is no God. We were all created from nothing, and the nothing came from nothing, all right? And the big vastness of nothing. And all of it was brought here by the Big Bang. Like, this is the type of stuff that we're having to deal with. And then the Democrats and the left think that the right is extreme. You're talking about a political faction that support the abortion of a baby up to 9 months old. We played the audio here where Governor, what's his name? Is it Northam? What's his name? Where he says the baby would be born, they would deliver it, keep it comfortable until the parents made a decision? Like, that's infanticide. These people have nothing in common with their fellow Americans anymore. They don't even like this country, folks. You're talking about people that don't want to stand for the pledge. They don't honor our veterans. It's like we're in bizarro world. And then they want to call the right extreme. And so, like, for Democrats to actually think, to go back to the point, we just went on a way rant for 15 minutes, it seems like. For Democrats to think anyone's going to accept this election as a free and fair election is off the rocker. They are going to cause a civil freaking war, man. I'm telling you now, we are on that path to something very, very diabolical, man, and I do not want to see it. I don't want war. I don't want anybody dying, but Democrats, what do they expect Republicans and conservatives to do? What do they expect their fellow Americans that will love this country and want to protect it? What do they think they're going to do? Just allow the other side to fundamentally change their entire country? Open their borders up? Destroy their fundamental principles and values? Destroy their religion? You know, force them to celebrate the LGBTQ flag and climate science, climate change and all this stuff? Like, these people, and they call the right radical. And so something bad's going to happen. And if we don't get this under control, if the Supreme Court does not step in, or if something doesn't happen and if they don't stop these cases, these Trump cases tomorrow, which they're not, nobody is going to accept the 2024 election as a free and fair election. If Donald Trump wins, the Democrats are going to accuse him. They're going to say the same stuff and do the same stuff that Donald Trump is now being persecuted for. They're going to challenge the election. They're going to have alternate slates of electors. They're going to do the whole thing, the Transition Integrity Project, the whole thing, John Podesta. They're going to war game the whole scenario out. If Donald Trump loses, are 90, 100, is anybody going to accept that as a free and fair election? Not even Democrats are going to be able to say that was a free and fair election. It was not free, and it was not fair. You kneecapped the Republicans' lead candidate with political lawfare. Their political nominee used the powers of the presidency to kneecap his chief political rival in order to win an election. Do you think Republicans are just going to be like, oh, yeah, that's cool. Go ahead, man. Yeah, that election was free. It was fair. It was great. Joe Biden deserved it. You know, he just campaigned really hard. He just campaigned harder than Trump. That's all. It's insane. And so what I think is going to happen is the whole damn thing is going to fall apart. This election interference strategy is starting to fall apart. And just like I've been saying in the last few episodes, this Georgia case is the thread that unravels the whole damn thing. The whole thing gets unraveled with the Georgia case because this is a disaster that's happening down in Georgia. Fani Willis is a homewrecker. I'll just go ahead and say it. Hashtag change my mind. This woman's a homewrecker. There is so much corruption and unethical stuff happening in this case that even the Democrats are calling her out on it. Even the Democrats agree that Fani Willis and Nathan Wade should be removed from the case. Why? Because of the obvious corruption with Georgia taxpayer dollars. So Harry McDougald, Clark's lawyer, which was the lawyer you just heard on the audio, he needed access to communications because he alleged the Biden White House has its fingerprints on all 4 criminal prosecutions of President Trump, and Clark needs the documents to build a case for dismissal on the grounds of selective prosecution. So essentially, the judge comes out, says to the prosecution team, do you have any problem with this? And of course, the prosecution could barely speak because they know they're in deep crap. And they're like, yeah, we actually do. We don't think he needs it. It has nothing to do with Brady material, has nothing to do. It's not evidence. So we don't think he needs it because Clark was trying to request documents for weeks and they didn't turn him over. So this is why he asked the judge to get those documents. And so finally, the judge was like, so you do realize, though, like what he's asking for can essentially just get the whole case thrown out if it's proven true. And so the prosecution was like, oh, and just kind of took a big breath and a big, choked up a little bit. He was like, yeah. And so the judge said, well, then I'm going to order those documents. What is it, just one letter? And then the prosecution's like, oh, no, it's 2 letters. And he says, so it's 2 letters now. So they lied at first and said it was just one. And then they were like, oh, it's 2 letters now. So the judge ordered those documents the very next day so that he can review it in person with his own eyes. It's not going to be on camera. It's not going to be released. These are communication documents from the White House to the prosecution team in Georgia. Supposedly, they just say it's, review stuff and logistical stuff. So the judge was like, well, then you should have no problem turning it over then. And of course, the prosecution tried to fight it and the judge essentially got what he wanted. And so this is going to happen. So that is obvious communication. And Clark's attorney, this attorney seems to think that he's going to get this whole case thrown out because he's going to prove that it's all politically motivated. And I have to agree. And I think he's going to get it out. I think this judge in Georgia is a straight shooter. And that was something I wanted to get into at the before the end of the show. So anyways, that's what's happening in Georgia. It's a big screw up. I could give a flying rip about the affair situation. I don't care about their love life. I care about the destruction of our justice system because of the coordination and collusion from the White House and all these different prosecutions. That's what I care about. And that's the only thing that all of us should be focusing on. The media is going to try and get everybody focused on the affair part of it, the sexual allegations part of it. Don't worry about that part. That's nonsense. That's going to go to an ethics committee. What we need to know is we need the truth behind what coordination did the White House have with this prosecution in Georgia, D.C., the documents case, all of it. We want to know the truth. What is Joe Biden or the White House counsel coordinating this effort to kneecap Donald Trump during the election? Is this election interference? And if it is, and I say this, when Donald Trump gets elected, if he does not hold these people accountable, then they're just going to do it again. And I said that in the last episode. They're doing this entire strategy for 2 reasons. Plan A is to use it to prevent Donald Trump from being president. If that plan fails, Plan B is going to be to impeach him after he's already president. So to wrap him up in impeachments and investigations again. So this I think is what their plan is. And this plan comes after the parachuting of Michelle Obama into the election. So this case is essentially toast. You have even the left, even the Democrats are saying, yeah, she's got to go. She ripped us off with her tax dollars because a day before this guy filed a divorce. So Big Fani Willis hired this guy, Nathan Wade, who is the prosecutor visiting the White House. A day after she hired Nathan Wade, he filed for a divorce with his wife, right? This is how Mike Roman was able to get these documents with these receipts. Because obviously in a divorce proceeding, they go through finances. This billing sheet that was the White House billing sheet was released in those proceedings, those divorce proceedings. And so it's almost as if like an act of God. It's almost like God was like, boom, here you go. I don't even know how anybody would find these documents, but if not for finding that billing sheet, if not for Nathan Wade being the dirtbag that he is and, you know, divorcing his wife and his child, then we wouldn't even, this case would be continuing on as is. And you would have a RICO case being conducted in August, 2 months before the most important election of our lifetimes, if not for him filing a divorce and those documents being requested, that billing sheet. And so like this whole thing is toast. And so the billing sheet just showed the Georgia taxpayers how much this guy was charging. Right? So this guy was charging $2,000 a day, a total of like $650,000 that Fani Willis paid him from Georgia taxpayer money. Then, shortly after paying him, they both are caught in the billing statements again through the divorce proceedings. They both were caught going on luxurious vacations together, spending, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars or however much, going to like the Caribbean islands, going to Tennessee, Miami, going on cruises and stuff. Like this is, and so the Georgia taxpayers are rightfully pissed. They're like, yo, Fani Willis is paying this dude almost $1 million of our money, and then they both go on, and he uses that money to go on luxurious trips with her? Like, essentially, Fani Willis is abusing the Georgia taxpayer. That's what that's all about. This guy's never prosecuted a RICO case, has never been involved in RICO cases, has no reason for even being the lead prosecutor in this case, and somehow files for a divorce one day after Fani Willis hires him to be the prosecutor to go after Donald Trump, and then they just start going on trips and stuff. Like, it's all just insane how it all turned out, but it's essentially the nuke bomb in this Georgia case. And on February 14th, the judge ordered Fani Willis to essentially explain herself and explain all this stuff. And I'm sorry, folks, but I think she's going to be removed from the case. She should recuse herself. Of course, the Democrats are saying she shouldn't recuse herself as if it's a legit election. The reason why they don't want her to recuse herself is because they're not in search of justice. They are in search of their desired outcome by all means necessary. If that means it's a corrupt process or not, damn it, they want their conviction of Donald Trump. They don't care how they get it. They just want it. Why? Because they know a conviction is going to kneecap Donald Trump in the election. Like I said, these people know this is election interference, but they do not care. They know it's election interference. They know what they're doing. And so they think that the ends justify the means. Damn the justice system. Damn the rule of law. Damn ethics. Damn all of it. Just get a conviction of Donald Trump. And so as long as he doesn't make it into the White House, everything is going to be okay. But what they don't realize is that all these things are setting precedent for them to happen to other people. You break all these constitutional norms, you break all these rule of laws, all this lawlessness is not just going to go away after Donald Trump. It's going to stick around in this country, and essentially it's eroding the pillars, the foundational pillars of everything we have. Our democracy, our rule of law, our justice system, our Department of Justice, the integrity of the Department of Justice in the White House. Like, my God, man, these people have been psychologically broken if they think the destruction of our country is worth getting rid of Donald Trump. And what the hell are they so afraid of? Cheap gas? Peace in the Middle East? Like I said in the last segment, 3 soldiers were just killed in Iran because of the consequences of the 2020 election. Electing Joe Biden had vast consequences, big time consequences. And I'm not talking about with just your wallet, death, destruction, misery, and famine all across the world. Joe Biden is running this country like an illegitimate president. That's exactly what it looks like. It looks like this is an illegitimate administration. And so Democrats have completely lost it. And you try and talk to these people, they don't even care. They don't even try and hide it anymore. They know the justice system is being weaponized as a political tool. They don't even care. And so, like, you would think they would ask themselves the question. They don't find it a little coincidental how all of these cases are being prosecuted in blue states with blue attorney generals, blue judges, and most likely blue jurors? Like, that doesn't throw up a red flag for these people? So in New York, where Donald Trump was just ordered to pay $83.3 million by a judge that knew and had worked with the lawyer in that case for 2 years. They don't see anything wrong with that? Okay. So New York is heavily Democrat. I actually went online and I got the voting demographics in all the areas where these cases are being held. So New York, it's called, I can't remember what the name of it's called. I don't know, but it's actually pretty cool. It gives you the political affiliation of that county or that city. It tells you pretty much the basic stuff you need to know. Who voted Democrat, who voted Republican, Independent, and so on and so forth. So in New York, where Donald Trump was just ordered to pay $83.3 million for a case that had no witnesses and no evidence, just word of mouth by somebody that was trying to sell a book just a few years ago for a situation that happened back in 1996. Okay, so here we go. New York, heavily Democrat. New York County. New York, it says, is very liberal. In New York County, New York, 86.4% of the people voted Democrat in the last presidential election. So I'm sure he got a fair jury trial right there. I'm sure that was a fair trial for Donald Trump, don't you think? Letitia James is a Democrat. Judge Engoron, the guy that's over trying to strip Donald Trump from his businesses, essentially bankrupt his family and everything they built for the last couple generations. Judge Engoron is a Democrat, obviously. Pretty radical guy, pretty Trump deranged. Refused to recuse himself like a rational, sane judge would if they had any appearance of bias or appearance of animosity towards Donald Trump. You'd think a good judge, should recuse themselves and remove themselves from the equation. Not this judge. Oh, no. He wanted to be famous, folks. Yeah. He's going to probably write a book after this, make all kinds of money. This is what these people do. There's never been more people to make more money off of one single person than I've ever seen in my entire life. Donald Trump has made people so much money. The hatred that the media has generated for one man has made these people so much money. This woman in particular. That's what she wrote her book about. This Judge Engoron's probably going to write a book after the case. Letitia James probably going to write a book after the case. She campaigned on getting Donald Trump. Her entire career is based off her political animosity towards Donald Trump. All these people are going to make money. So Democrats don't find it a little bit a little bit unjust for Donald Trump to be prosecuted in just Democrat states? I mean, come on, man. Except for one, the documents case. So anyways, let's get back to this. So Letitia James, a Democrat. Judge Engoron, a Democrat. So most likely with New York County voting 86.4% Democrat, it was probably most likely a full Democrat jury, right? I don't know. I highly doubt, because you can almost spot out a Republican and Democrat now within like 15 seconds. I know I can. So I guarantee you that jury was all selected, was all picked very, very specifically. And I guarantee they're all Democrat. All right. So E. Jean Carroll, Democrat. All right. So moving on, Judge Lewis Kaplan, the one who just ordered Donald Trump to pay $83.3 million, is a Democrat. All right. So that's New York. That's where two of Donald Trump's cases are. So Fulton County, Georgia, which one of them is not even a criminal case, which is the one where they're trying to bankrupt the Trump franchise. That's not even a crime. There was no victims. Nobody lost any money. Nobody even knows what's going on there. They just know that it's, hurting Donald Trump, and that's all they care about. All right. So Fulton County, Georgia, the political climate in Fulton County, Georgia is very liberal. In Fulton County, Georgia, 72.6% of people voted Democrat in the last presidential election. 26.2% voted for Republican Party. And where is Donald Trump being prosecuted? Oh, in Fulton County, Georgia. That's right. Man, these Democrats, they're so good. You guys listen, you Democrats listening, you guys are good, man. Very good. And so can you tell me what political affiliation Fani Willis is? I bet you're going to say Democrat. You would be right. Fani Willis, Democrat. And what about her boy toy, Nathan Wade? What do you think he is? I bet he's a staunch conservative. What do you think? Well, making trips to Joe Biden's White House, getting tours around the White House. What do you think? No. Nathan Wade is a Democrat. All right, so moving on to Washington, D.C. Ooh, this is the big one they say is really going to hurt Donald Trump. Washington, D.C., the political climate is the political climate in Washington, D.C. is very liberal. The District of Columbia County, D.C., voted, get this, you ready for this? 92.1% Democrat. So 92.1% of the people voted Democrat in the last presidential election. You ready for this? Just 5.4% voted for Republican Party. Oh, I guarantee you, Donald Trump's got some real political allies in Washington, D.C. And I'm sure the jury's probably going to be filled with conservatives and Republicans. You know, the real MAGA, the MAGA jury is. I guarantee it. They better watch out. You know, Jack Smith better watch out. You don't want the jury being full of MAGA extremists. And it's very, very likelihood it could happen, too, with a 92.1% of them voting Democrat. I'm sure it's very likely he'll get a conservative in that jury. All right. So, Jack Smith, what do you think he is? You think he's a conservative or Democrat? Ah, yes, Democrat. Yep. Merrick Garland. This one should be easy. This guy's a Democrat. Come on. Joe Biden, obviously Democrat. All right. The judge, Chutkin. The one that, you know, essentially removed Donald Trump's attorney-client privilege, Donald Trump's immunity. She's trying to strip presidential immunity from a former sitting president. I don't think she's radical or nothing. What do you think? I bet she probably likes Donald Trump. What do you think? Nope, she's actually a Democrat. All right. So that's Washington, D.C. Let's go down to Florida, which, mind you, this actually has a caveat because Florida, Jack Smith actually ran the grand jury out of Washington, D.C. Some of the most unethical, corrupt stuff you've ever seen. So he gets a grand jury in Washington, D.C. Why? Well, probably because 92.1% of the people are voted Democrat in the last election. So he panels a grand jury in Washington, D.C., right? Shows them all the evidence, shows them the videos, does all the testimony in Washington, D.C. And then after the grand jury is done, he moves the case down to Florida, to Miami. Well, why would he do that? Well, I don't know. Probably because he knows Miami-Dade swings a little bit more on the centrist side. So he didn't want to take any chances, folks. And the crazy part is after he moved the grand jury down in Florida, Eileen Cannon said he started a new grand jury, but there was a stipulation to this grand jury. Because he presented all the evidence, facts, witnesses, and testimony and cross-examination. Well, there is no cross-examination in a grand jury. That's why they say you can indict a ham sandwich. So Donald Trump had no defense in that room with either one of the grand juries, which to me should be illegal. So nobody was there to defend Donald Trump. No one was there to cross-examine any witnesses. It was all what Jack Smith and the Democrats wanted to present to the grand jury, right? And from reports say the entire system was completely corrupted, unethical, immoral, to go down the whole list. Like the people coming out of the grand jury were saying, like, this is wild. Like some straight up George Orwell's 1984 Soviet Union type stuff. So after he gives all the evidence and testimony to the grand jury in New York or in Washington, D.C., where there's 92% Democrats, he then brings the grand jury down to Florida. But the grand jury in Florida just rubber stamps the grand jury approval. I don't know what you call it whenever they're done with it and they go ahead with the indictment. So the grand jury down in Florida, the new grand jury, didn't see any evidence, didn't see any testimony from witnesses, didn't see anything. They had no facts submitted. They just rubber stamped the indictment down in Florida. That's exactly what Jack Smith wanted. So he starts the grand jury in Washington, D.C., and then after he gets what he wants, because he knows he's going to have to do it down in Florida, he takes care of all the messy business in New York and then brings it down to Florida, where they just rubber stamp the indictment, and then that's how he gets his indictment down in Florida. So the reason why is Judge Eileen Cannon. Eileen Cannon's a pretty straight shooter, if you haven't noticed. She is not buying the BS. She is pretty fair so far. She is not allowing Jack Smith and the government to steamroll over Donald Trump's due process rights and First Amendment rights and so on and so forth. She's taking it nice and slow, and she essentially has come out and, with her rulings, she's essentially saying, yeah, this isn't going to see the light of day before the election. So they're not resting their hats. They're not resting their laurels on Eileen Cannon, the judge in Miami-Dade County, where the documents case has taken place. So this is why they really, really need this Georgia case. So the political climate in Miami, Florida is moderately liberal. So Miami-Dade County, which this is actually kind of shocking, Miami County actually leaning liberal. In Miami-Dade County, 53.3% of the people voted Democrat in the last presidential election, 46% voted for Republican Party, and the remaining 0.7% voted independent. So Miami-Dade County voted Democratic in every presidential election since 2000. So there you go. That's why he wanted the grand jury paneled in Washington, D.C. and not in Miami-Dade County. You see how sneaky and slimy and just straight disgusting and egregious these people are? They have ruined our justice system. It's gone. So my advice to my listeners, my America First conservatives, my patriotic, America-loving listeners, my advice to you is never get in trouble in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., or Fulton County, Georgia. And if you do get in trouble, never, ever tell them you voted for Donald Trump, or never tell them your political affiliation. If you got a voter ID card in your wallet, don't bring it with you if you go to a blue state. I'm telling you, these people are on a jihad against their political opponents. This stuff is starting to turn into the Soviet Union back in the 30s. Like, this is like 1930s Russia we're watching taking place in our justice system. And listen, I don't know when it's going to end. You know, Donald Trump is not the end all be all to this situation. It's not like we can just elect Donald Trump and it's all going to be fixed. No, the Democrats and the people behind this charade of dismantling America so that they can fundamentally change it and essentially destroy it, burn it down, and rebuild it in their own image. These people behind this, they don't even care. They're going all at it, man. It is going to take generations to fix what has been done in just the last decade. Because there was a lot of damage happening during the Trump administration, too, with the bureaucracy, with the unprecedented impeachments and investigations, a lot of constitutional norms broken, a lot of precedents set. And so this damage has been going on. This dismantling of the foundations of this country has been going on for a long time. It's not going to be fixed with just Trump in 4 years. However, electing Donald Trump will not only stop the damage, stop the bleeding that the leftists are causing this country, but it'll turn it around, essentially kind of ricochet it onto a new course. Because I'm telling you right now, going down this path we're going down now, there's not going to be anything left in 4 years. I'm telling you. We're talking BRICS is going to be coming around. You're going to have a currency collapse. You're going to have, it's going to get ugly. You're going to have a full authoritarian police state. Like a full-on totalitarian, authoritarian police state, man. Like, it is going to be awful. And there's no justice. Everything's going to be extremely politicized. It's not going to be good. So getting Donald Trump in there will ricochet this off into a new course. And then it's going to be up to, yes, us Americans, us patriot, freedom-fighting Americans. It's going to be up to us once again to get another conservative. We're going to have to continue this battle. That's why we're here. That's why I do this show. That's why I dedicate so much of my time to the show, to researching this stuff, to reading about it, to submersing myself in information. I swim in this stuff, folks. I live, eat, and breathe the news, the politics, the culture, the society, what is going on. And it's not all politics. I read a lot of cool stuff too. I'm really into science. I'm absolutely into history. And I explained to you on the last segment about the Federalist Papers. I actually had to read the Federalist Paper 46 again yesterday to look back on what James Madison was talking about the separation of powers and federal powers versus state powers, and why it's so important for the states to have powers and where the National Guard comes from. Each state was appointed their own military, but their military, which we call it, they called it a militia. Each state was allowed to have their own militia, but that militia could not be bigger than the federal military. And so that was stipulations. So I essentially went back to the basics where I think all of us should go when we're in these types of situations, what would the framers do? And so I looked back on the Federalist Papers 46 and what Texas is doing at the southern border, they have every right to do. When there is an invasion on our border, and the president, the chief executive officer of this country, is not defending the sovereignty and the borders of this nation, it is then up to the states to prioritize the safety and well-being of its citizens against an invading force. Period. That is, in a nutshell, what Federalist 46 says. It is up to the states to take care of the people. Why? Because the federal government is so disconnected from a tiny little state. That's why. They were James Madison and the framers of this country, John Jay, Alexander Hamilton, they were so smart, man. These people were the smartest people of their time. They were like the Einsteins of politics and freedom and liberty. Like they were geniuses when it came to this stuff. They took so much from different parts of civilizations like Rome and the Chinese dynasty, a lot from ancient Rome, most of it, a big chunk of it, but most of all, religion, right? This country was founded on religion. It was the freedom of religion. It was founded with the Deuteronomy. Without a doubt, a lot of the framers of this country were religious Christians, Christianity, Judeo-Christians. So again, these people knew what they were talking about. They knew that the federal government wasn't going to have any type of connection with the locals in Rhode Island. You know, Washington, D.C., or, you know, I don't know if it wasn't D.C. yet, but, you know, when the 13 colonies was around, they knew that the federal government wasn't going to have the same interests as a farmer in, let's just say, Tennessee, or a farmer in North Carolina. Like, so they knew that separation of powers was so important. They knew that a federal government could go rogue, and that's where you had militias. Like, they knew all this stuff was going to happen. And so when we're in these situations, I find it imperative to look back onto the words of the framers of this country. What did they say about these days? What were they thinking about? How did they interpret the Constitution? How did they interpret the articles of the Constitution? More notably, Article 4, Section 4. I don't know the article off the top of my head verbatim, but it says, every person is guaranteed a Republican form of government, and it is the responsibility of the federal government, that Republican government, to protect the sovereignty of the nation, to protect the nation's borders. Joe Biden is not doing that. And so therefore, Texas, Greg Abbott, Ken Paxton, and the 25 other governors in red states that are backing him have every right to do what he's doing. The Supreme Court didn't say anything about Texas adding more barbed wire. All they said is that the federal government can remove the barbed wire that's already there. So Greg Abbott and Ken Paxton and the state of Texas is adding more. If they take it down, they add more. They take down and add more. But I will say, I think Texas won on this issue. Why I say that is the deadline has passed for Joe Biden. Joe Biden said, this is the deadline. You better have this barbed wire down and we're going to come in and remove it. The deadline passed on Friday, I think it was. They never removed the barbed wire. And essentially, Ken Paxton and Greg Abbott called his bluff and said, yeah, you ain't doing nothing. And he didn't. And so essentially, Texas won. I don't know if they're going to wait till people are distracted and then they're going to send people in to cut it down. Most likely, because that's how slimy this administration is. Everything is optics with this administration, if you haven't noticed already. So I don't know if they're just going to wait till he's distracted, maybe Super Bowl time, go in there, cut all these razor wires down. That's what they do. They know that the American people are on high alert right now. They know the southern border's the peak attention. Everybody has their eyes on the border right now. It's the talk of the town. And so they may wait. However, Texas said is they're just going to keep throwing more up and more up. But the reason why, and listen, Ken Paxton Greg Abbott, they were very smart and strategic with this. And this is the exact type of fighters we need in the Republican Party right now. We need politicians that realize what time it is. Not Mitch McConnell and Thune and all the other rhinos that are trying to get amnesty for all these people. Like, yeah, that's what the American people want to see right now, dudes, is freaking amnesty for the millions of illegal immigrants that are let into their country. Amnesty, essentially codifying the illegal immigration, legalizing illegal immigration. So it's just not illegal anymore, folks. And so they called Joe Biden on his bluff. Everything has to do with optics with this administration. And they knew Joe Biden was not going to send federal agents into Texas and remove the secure barriers to allow the free flow of illegal immigrants into Texas. They knew how bad that was going to look. And man, they were right. That would make Joe Biden and his administration look so bad. They already look bad, folks. The entire country is against this illegal immigration. Not the leftists, of course, but I guarantee the plurality of this country is 100% against what is happening, the inhumane conditions at the southern border, the fentanyl, the drug trafficking, this modern-day slavery, which is something I wanted to talk about on the next segment. This is modern-day slavery, folks, that is happening. Why? Because what is slavery? Just think, what is the definition of slavery? Let's go through it. What is the definition of slavery? If someone is working against their will and is treated as property or forced labor for another person, that situation could be considered a form of slavery. Modern perspectives on slavery often encompass various forms of coerced or exploitative labor. What do you think's happening to these illegal immigrants that don't have the money to pay the cartels to get into this country? They get those little wristbands that you see all the time on the news. They get the little wristbands. They get smuggled into the country, and then they work. They are coerced to work on behalf of the cartel to send their money back home to pay for their debts. Ladies and gentlemen, that is slavery. So once again, for a second time in this country's history, Democrats support slavery. Boom! Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Democrats have always been the party of slavery, and for a second time in this country, Democrats support slavery, because that's exactly what's happening at the southern border. Modern-day slavery. There you go. Mark Levin wanted us to use it. We're using it, buddy. He is exactly right. This is modern-day slavery. Yeah, and way to go, Democrats. This is what your party supports. This is what your party has become. You have become everything you claim to hate. And so I just want to ask you still willing to vote for another 4 years of this? So anyways, Joe Biden realized that it would look so awful if the federal government went in there and cut the razor wire down, because all they fear is optics. These people are nothing but, the only thing that is on their agenda is to trick the American people and lie to them. Deceive the American people is the name of the game for the Biden administration. And so they know they didn't want to go down there, get caught on some Fox drone, cutting down razor wire to allow the free flow of illegal immigrants into the country. So they may wait until everybody's distracted, and they may. But if they do, trust me, I will hear about it, and you will hear about it as long as you listen to this podcast, because we ain't letting anything go, folks. We got 10 months to an election, and it's vitally important that you inform your fellow citizens. An informed citizenry is the best thing we have against a rising authoritarian government, so that the citizens of this country have proper oversight of that government, so it doesn't become a totalitarian or authoritarian dictatorship. So informed people make the best decisions, and uninformed people make decisions that have consequences like we're looking at now. All right? The reason why Joe Biden won was because there were so many uninformed people with what was going on. The American people were lied to about a laptop by 51 former intel agents, and because people were uninformed, they just listened to what the media told them and listened to what Twitter told them and all the other BS. And now here we are, death and destruction, pain and misery all across the globe. So hopefully, Democrats that are listening to this, or independents, you don't make that mistake again. So we'll see. I hope not. Trust me, I believe in you. I believe in you, independents, and you rational, sane Democrats. I know you're not going to make the same stupid mistake again. No matter how bad you hate Donald Trump, no matter how much you hate what he says or what he looks like, I know you are not dumb enough. You are not insane enough to vote for another 4 years of this. I don't care if you vote for Donald Trump or not. I really don't. Just don't vote at all. There's your answer. I didn't vote in 2012 because I didn't like anybody in 2012. I voted for Obama in 2008, didn't vote in 2012. I encourage everybody to vote, but please, a vote for Joe Biden is a vote to continue this freaking disaster. There's no reason to be that terrified of Donald Trump. He didn't do anything to warrant this type of treatment from the American people. Yeah, I could see why the deep state Washington establishment treats Donald Trump this way, because they're completely petrified of the guy. They're terrified. They're going to be held accountable for all the crap that they've done to him the last 8 years, for all the crap that they've done to this country, locking up political prisoners that went to go protest and petition their government. Yeah, I would be terrified if I was them too. But the American people, all we got to do is just sit back and enjoy the ride. Enjoy those cheap gas prices, that peace breaking out in the Middle East, prosperity for everyone. Man, it's a beautiful thing, and we sure do miss Donald Trump. So we got to do our job to get him back in there and get this country back on the right track. So with that being said, thank you guys as always for tuning in. I hope you guys have a wonderful Monday. Yes, it's time to reset the clocks and start another week, but that's never, it's a good thing, man. You get to essentially reset the clocks and just have a new start at a whole new week and just kind of just reset the clock. So thank you guys for listening. If you guys want to find the show, you can find it on all podcast platforms. I'd really appreciate it. You follow the show, and I really appreciate it. And it's kind of your duty to share this episode with your friends and family. If you're listening to the show on Rumble or YouTube, go ahead and smash the like button. Please subscribe to my channel. I upload all my shows to Rumble and YouTube every single day, or every time I release an episode, which I try to get one out every day. I'm just your average middle-class citizen, man. I work just like you. So follow the show, share the show with your friends and family, and please, if you could, I'd really appreciate it. Leave a review. Let me know how you like the show. I'm always up to some constructive criticism. I don't mind. I really appreciate the feedback. Let me know how you like it. And if you want to get a hold of me, or you have any tips for a story, or you just want to see what's going on, you can get a hold of me, StevenTaurielloShow@gmail.com. That is Steven Tauriello, Tauriello. And I really do appreciate you guys listening to the show. Those of you who've been listening to the show since day one, I can't thank you enough. I really do. This platform probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. And so I want to make sure I make the best of this platform and reach as many of my fellow Americans as possible, and just inform my fellow Americans with what is going on, so that the informed citizenry can have proper oversight of the government. So I appreciate you guys for following the show. I appreciate for any feedback you give. And once again, I want you guys to have a great Monday. I want you guys to have a good week. God bless you, and God bless America. You guys have a good day. Bye-bye.